Okay, and what happens if you only give one person positive reinforcement over and over to the same children? How would that make the other people feel? And or would that consequently give that star student more of a target due to the fact they're the teacher's pet?
I feel like as a teacher, we would know better not to do that. And then, I mean, as the year goes on, we're gonna realize that that's just the student's behavior in general. And it's not like we'd be doing something on purpose. We're trained not to do that, so you just kind of learn not to do that.
What happens if the rewards that you have for the behavior modification run out for that one particular student or students you're using it for?
What do you mean by
Like,
now?
You keep giving him the same thing and he wants something bigger and better because you're expecting him to do more. What happens if it's like, you give him the extra video time, you give him the extra this, you do all this and you're running out of your own resources, how do you apply? What do you do next?
Yeah, I think that a student should know like that is the set reward, like after repeating it and being consistent, I think that they should know at that point, like that's what you are getting, like
So-
that, to be fair to everybody.
Yeah, would you change it though if they started acting differently? Would you give them a different reward or prize at the end of it?
So I think that when you set up this plan, you want to start out small. You don't want to start going and changing the extreme behaviors with the biggest reward possible. That way you do have something that they're looking forward to, you can work up to it. And like I put in the PowerPoint, the last step is to adjust the plan if you need to. So you just want to keep on making sure that they have something to reinforce the behavior. But once they just start doing it on their own without thinking about it, then that's when you're really late.
How would you set up an age-appropriate thing for, let's say, a second grader? Then how would you do it? Would you start off with like this and then work up towards that? Or how would you actually apply it in a second grade classroom?
I mean, I've never been in a second grade classroom. I would.
Okay, so you're in fifth, so try it in a fifth grade.
Well, something computer time. I mean, a consequence would be they have to stay in during recess. That happens all the time. They have to retake a test. And you just kind of get to know your students. Like, okay, this isn't going to work for them, but this is. And you just kind of learn as you go.
And
Lizzie,
depends
is
on
your
your
question?
Yeah, so a lot of students, especially in the older grades, think that consequences always mean something negative. You did something wrong, that's why it's a consequence. But consequence really just means the result of your actions. So how can you get through to the students that just because I'm calling it a consequence doesn't mean it's necessary, like you did something bad?
Well, we did also talk positive consequences. So what you're asking, how would you?
Just basically, how would you explain it to a student?
I mean, I would describe it as holding the student accountable. It wouldn't necessarily need to be a consequence every time, just like, okay, you don't have your ready minutes in, you need to stay in those last 8 minutes to get that done. That's just the consequence. You've had all week to do it. You know, we start Monday morning, go until Thursday morning. I would describe it more so as self-accountability.
I think that would really work with especially the higher grades because they'll be able to understand what it means to be accountable for something than the younger grades where where a word like consequence won't work.
Okay, thanks.
what happens if positive or negative reinforcement don't work?
Then you choose something else that you just practice until you find something that does work. It depends on the student and it depends on you. If you're not holding that student accountable for anything, then they're just gonna continue to do it. So you just have to try and find what program works best for you as a teacher and for your student.
And with students with IEPs and stuff like that, who, if they get too much stimulus, it counteracts in a negative, how would you balance that out?
Don't give them as much stimulus. It would just change as the student changes, just like creating, or like you said before, how maybe they won't listen like to you. So then, like I know at our school we have like a resource room and we have like the trouble students and they sometimes don't respond to like my homeroom teacher as much. but they have a different teacher that they will respond to because they have a deeper connection with them than they do with anybody else. So if they're available, we sometimes try to get them for that particular student. So maybe find somebody who they have a connection with.
And if a student has an IEP, they're talked about with, not talked about, but within the staff knows. They know, I mean, the process, if a, third grade is happening, it's gonna be talked about in fourth grade. And at that, they've kind of maybe marked out any kinks that they would need to in establishing a good behavior plan for that student. But also students who are on IEPs have a lot of resources. So there's, like she said, there's certain people that they connect with. They might go in the afternoon, might go to the success room and help, they just need that, you have to like lay out that plan prior, I guess.
And with the Iris, there was this thing with triggers and the roller coaster demonstration. How would that apply to the positive and negative reinforcements in the classroom? Being proactive by doing it this way. How would that limit the triggers and then the going faster up until they peak and then the debriefing at the end? How would you apply this technique with that?
Yeah, I don't
I
necessarily
don't
remember.
remember that.
It was,
Oh.
calm, so being, working with the class, trigger, escalation, out of control, peak, and then de-escalation and,
So it
debrief
sounds a lot like
discussion.
conscious discipline. So I feel like when my visual part showed like the green to the red, you would, it depends, if it's the first time, you're kind of just getting your feet wet, and you learn to deal with that.
I feel like it works, it's the same, like,
Yeah.
not to answer stuff on an
No,
answer.
go
but,
for it.
With that, it talks about intervention and intervening before they get to the escalation, past the point of intervention. Use the reinforcements as a reminder. Say, when you see the triggers hit, because you're gonna learn your kids. This is not something, even the most seasoned teacher, 20-year teacher, veterans, are not gonna be able to know until they know their kids. So once you get that established behavior, which means you're gonna have to let them escalate, you're gonna have to let them peak, and you're gonna have to let them come down. So you can see triggers, so that you can see all of that, and you get a map out of what triggers, what sets them off, all of that, and then intervene when you see those triggers happening, or before they happen.
Each
Say,
student's
all right,
gonna be
your job
different.
is this, this is your consequence, positive or negative, choose what you wanna do. We do that with a kid who, so severely ADD that he cannot focus unless you put a written piece of paper in front of him. My job is this now, and then this. And I say, okay, this is your job right now, and then this is your job. If I don't hit him before his trigger, I'm not gonna get any work out of him. So that's, I think that happens with, and then his positive consequence is being able to read his comic books. And so if he does this, he gets this. But you need to establish that before you get into it, because once any person